How is it going, YouTube? Malagant here. We are going to be checking out my Toxic Summoner, and with this character I started fresh in the latest patch called the Endgame and reached to 30,000 skulls spent southbound just recently, yesterday actually. And all the content was done on stream, completely southbound, and apart from, spending skulls, there wasn't really anything that was annoying or difficult, let's say. I'll be sharing two links down below in the description for you. One is going to be while leveling, and the other one is going to be finally when you got to infinity and started to get some passive points from the skulls that you spend. Thank you very much for joining me. Before we get to it, please remember to subscribe and like the video. Thank you. For the playstyle, we will start off by talking about the playstyle, and it is very straightforward as Wolcen doesn't really have any pet controls. They are just aggressive to the closest target most of the time, and when they die, they automatically respawn shortly after. You can also change your left click to force move from the key bindings, so that you are always clicking to move as default. And also default attacking with your character is pointless, and if anything you just want to preserve willpower. So as you are using 3 archers and 3 golems, there isn't really any room for remaining for any other spells. So you guessed by now, the playstyle is ultimately just a summoner dream, just walking simulator pretty much. There can be times where you're going to be annoyed by your pets attacking the wrong targets, or a proximity shield is going to be blocking, or the projectiles of your pets. For this, you will want to respawn your archers closer to where you would like them to attack to. Apart from that, your only input throughout the character's journey is going to be looting and pathing. You can find the skills in detail in the links below, but we are going to be only using 2 skills and then we will dupe them both twice. First is going to be the Hunting Swarm, your skeletal archers. Second one is going to be Liver Mortis, your golems. For the Hunting Swarm skill passives, we are going to take the nodes that are giving you summon damage increase and +1 maximum summon. The modifier of this skill is going to be set to toxic damage. For the Liver Mortis skill passives, we are going to take the nodes that are giving us summon damage increase and summon attack speed increase. The modifier for Liver Mortis is going to be set to rend damage. Skill duping, let's talk about that a little bit. As I have mentioned before, we'll need to dupe these abilities twice each to get to 6 abilities in total. To dupe an ability, you will need to level them to a certain level, and then you will also need some primordial affinity, which is the currency in this game for skills. Afterwards, you can do the duping in town with the NPC called the Metra. I'll have a detailed guide over this in my YouTube shortly, but if it is not really too hard to figure it out. It is just that the system is a little bit implemented weirdly in my opinion. For the passives throughout the acts, we are going to be focusing on projectile, spell and summoning damage, as well as some material and toxic damage. These are going to be followed by some notables that are going to be modifying our character further. Again, you can find the passives in the link below, obviously, but it is important to understand what our pets are scaling from. So let's talk about that a little bit before we dive into pets further. Pets are capable of scaling from percentage damage. You can find the stat from just basic attributes in the game, or some gear also has percentage damage coming from some certain content. So the attributes are a very big part of the summoners, especially when we are jumping into the infinity mode, where the attributes are going to be coming in bulk and a lot. And that's going to be the biggest part of our damage, especially in the very late game in infinity. Apart from that, percentage damage can also be found in some of the passive nodes too, in the Gate of Fates. Another one is obviously the modifiers to summons. Our pets are going to be scaling from attack and cast speed to summons, or summon damage dealt stats, and these can be found on some of the unique items and also in Gates of Fate's passives. From here on, it is important to remember that your pet skills are tagged as spells. This means that you can boost their damage by flat damage added to spells. You can find these from weapons, catalysts, accessory. As your pets are spells, also spell damage increase is going to be another stat that is scaling your pets nicely. Another thing that scales the pets are physical damage percentage, as I am assuming since they're using your weapon damage, and weapon damage starts from physical, as far as I know. So that is going to be my guess. But they are definitely scaling from physical damage percentage also. And since they are scaling from percentage physical damage, they will also be scaling from percentage material damage. The thing that I have to mention so far can be said for the things that I have mentioned so far, can be said for all the spell summons in the game. But there are some additional things that we can use to further scale our pets in this build specifically. Both of our pet abilities are going to be using projectiles, so all the percentage projectile damage are going to be scaling our pets. On top of that, any additional projectile modifiers in unique items or passive tree works for our skills too. Our hunting swarm is going to be in toxic form, so the toxic damage will be able to scale our hunting swarm. Same thing can be said for our liver mortis, since they are going to be in the rend form, rend damage form, let's say. They are going to be further scaled with extra rend damage, percentage rend damage. Lastly, just like any other ability in Wolcen, pets are first and foremost scaling from our weapon, therefore the damage values on our weapon is very important too. Let's talk about the stats and the attributes a little bit. For the attributes, it's very straightforward, to be honest with you. As far as I can tell, the ferocity, agility and wisdom, they do not offer anything for our pets. So we are going to be dumping, well, everything into toughness. This is a good thing because there's a passive in the Gates of Fate that is going to be nerfing our maximum HP to reduce the damage that our pet's going to be taking, which is a very, very important node, and I would like you to rush to that from the, start of the game. The percentage damage value is given equally, no matter where you spend your attributes. So do not worry about, which attribute is going to be giving you the most percentage. It's all the same, no matter where you click. For the gear, let's talk about it a little bit. There are certainly some very good uniques that can help our character, but make no mistake, there's no, a must to have to run this kind of build. There are definitely, as I said, there are very, very strong uniques that you could have to boost your character. Let me mention a couple of them by names. They'll just make your character stronger. For the rings, there's something called Sunny's Stash. It's a level 1 ring that offers percentage damage and a lot of attributes, all attributes actually. There's also another very good ring that is called Targeting Ring, if I'm not mistaken, that is offering you +2 projectiles, and it is reducing your projectile damage by 33%. Now, in case you find this ring, I would suggest wearing it, but dropping the extra projectile node from the passive tree, as the ring offers a better deal than the passive tree's one. For the shoulders, the Feast of Cankers are very good. They scale toxic damage multiplier and also summon damage too. You can wear 2 of these. Same goes for Sunny's Stash, the ring. I've borne Sunny's Stash for the longest time up until the very, very late game, where I ended up finding a targeting ring actually. For the amulets, there are a couple of spell damage multipliers off the top of my head. I honestly don't remember the names. One of them is, I think, Thirst, which is the one that I ran. There's another one that I could not find, which is also scaling spell damage multiplier. Remember, damage multiplier stat is a multiplicative multiplier in this game, so it's a more multiplier. So whenever you see this stat, remember that it is a very big boost to that certain stat. For the helm, James Tall Tale is very good. It scales projectile damage, also a multiplier, so multiplicative multiplier. For the weapons or offense, there are quite a few good ones actually. But you can just, as I have done, you can just also grab a very high damage 2 spells staff and open 3 sockets into it, and it should be very strong for a long time, and your next upgrade is just going to be, a better damage on it for the spells, which is what I have done while leveling for the most part. When it comes to your gear, there are a couple of very important stats that I'll mention here that I've valued over the others before deciding what to wear. The base health and all resistance on items were very useful, as they are definitely making you a little bit more, chunky and harder to die. percentage damage, as I had mentioned, percentage material damage, a little bit easier to find. The movement speed on boots, never used any other boots in the game. Projectile pierce on belt could be a little bit tricky to find and requires a certain content again. For the sockets in our gear, I have used Genesis stones. They're very difficult to find in this game, I don't know why. If you don't have the Genesis stones, I'm actually not really sure. I would probably add toxic damage to spells, so the green gems, into offensive sockets in my weapons. But for the offensive sockets, you know, you would like to use the Genesis stones when you find them, let's say. I've used the percentage physical damage in the supporting sockets, which are, you know, openable in the belts, the rings, and the amulets. And then I mostly use flat health or all resistance in the defensive sockets, which are openable in the helm, chest, and pants. I'll be looking to make an update to this video, so if you have any questions, any feedback, or any comments, whatever, I'll get. So please feel free to ask or add anything in the comment section down below. And thank you very much for watching, everybody. I'll see you on the next one.